Welcome, Carm Capriato, the Service Aftermarkets podcast pioneer with the gold standard of aftermarket business podcasts. Join me for Aftermarket Insights as we advance the aftermarket. And as always, know that you'll learn just one thing. Find us on your favorite podcast listening app and remarkableresults.biz or on my YouTube channel. Welcome, Carm Capriato, the Service Aftermarkets podcast pioneer with the gold standard of aftermarket business podcasts. Join me for Aftermarket Insights as we advance the aftermarket. And as always, know that you'll learn just one thing. Find us on your favorite podcast listening app and remarkableresults.biz or on my YouTube channel. Hey everybody, Carm Capriato, Remarkable Results Radio. Good to have you here. We are all excited and pumped up for this great interview. I just love to do mother-daughter interviews, and those are so rare. Let's bring our guests on. How many mother-daughter interviews have I possibly ever done? I'm going to guess maybe in the last almost 1,000 episodes, one or none.
Well, we're happy to start a new trend.
Thank you so much. Katy and Victoria Carl, mother-daughter shop owners out of Voorheesville, New York. That's near Albany, right?
Yep, we're about 15, 20 minutes out of Albany.
Yeah, out of Albany, and that's the capital of New York. So you're kind of north of New York City, 2 hours?
Closer to almost 3.
Closer to 3. Okay. So are you on the north side of Albany?
Yes.
Toward the Adirondacks. I got it.
Yep.
Maybe we're helping some people appreciate the geography of New York. It's a pretty darn big state because I'm in Buffalo. I'm 8 hours away from New York, and people say, wow, that state's pretty big. Because when you tell people you're from New York State, they assume New York City.
Yeah.
I know. Well, glad to have you ladies here. There's a great story here. I love where this happened. Let's go back to the opportunity that you had to buy this business 5 years ago.
So I graduated from University of Northwestern Ohio in 2019. I went into the industry of the trucking world, and I was a preventative maintenance mechanic on semi-trucks. I did that for about a year at the place that I was at. And then the previous owners of the business that we currently own approached us and kind of asked if this was something we wanted to get into. It kind of started as when I was in college, my brother was sweeping floors for them, 14, 15 years old, just trying to get his feet wet in the industry. And they always kind of joked and said, you and your sister are going to own this someday. And it was funny. It was a joke until it wasn't. They were serious, and they came to us as a family and said, this is something that we really can see you guys doing. And how do you feel about it? So we kind of said, why not?
I got to tell you, Victoria, that is such a cool story. What do you think the owners saw in you guys?
That's a great question. I've never been asked that question before. I would like to think that they saw the same family atmosphere and the morals and the ethics that they shared. That's one of the biggest things that we love about them and that we adopted. They truly were an honest repair shop and different than a lot of industry standards. So I hope that they saw that in us, and we're really hopeful that we were going to carry that through as a tradition kind of thing. And I like to think that's what we're doing.
I don't know, Katy, that speaks volumes to me that someone would see that and want the succession plan to include honesty, ethics, morals, hard work, because and listen, I've spoken to an awful lot of shop owners that have succeeded their business, not within family, but from outside. And then they hear stories about how things aren't quite the same. Now, I understand things change. I get that. But a lot of times it goes in the negative direction when it comes to customer care and all that other stuff you just mentioned. So it's an honor to have that happen. A diesel mechanic is so interesting. What prompted, I'm curious. What prompted you all those years ago, Katy? Did you say, you got to go out and work on big trucks, daughter?
Absolutely not. I told her she was crazy for wanting to go down that path. And I'm pretty sure that's what spurred her to push it, honestly. She's always been very much outside the box young lady and always kind of pushed her boundaries a little bit. Was always the one who showed up to volleyball practice in work boots with dirty, greasy fingernails. So
I love it. And so wait a minute. I think the word independent creams up for me here.
A couple of times. Yeah, definitely a couple of times.
Yeah. One of the things that I know about you guys, and we've spent some time together talking about building this episode, is that when you did a deal to buy the business, I think you were telling me that coaching was part of making sure the deal worked. And to me, that's an intelligent and very smart way. You haven't run a business before, you know the mechanical side of the industry, but now you're going to become a entrepreneur, quote, quote, CEO, quote, quote. And they said, listen, we think you should be in a coaching organization. I found that fascinating. Did you learn a lot?
I think that was an incredibly important part of the transition from the previous owners to us. And I think a little bit of that was because of Victoria's young age. You know what I mean? Like, I think that they just felt like they had spent, what were they in business? Almost 40 years together?
Yeah,
Wow.
38 years when we took
38
over.
years. So they had spent the last several years of their plan with a coaching company that taught them a lot, brought them up to snuff, up to date, taught them a lot of important things about their succession planning and trying to sell their business. And they were intrigued by it, and they learned a lot, and it helped them make their business able to be saleable. So they just felt very passionate about making sure that we continued down that path and incorporated that into everything that we were trying to do for Victoria.
I'm a big fan of coaching and seeing the value of it. And there's some people out there that you cannot explain to them or teach them or convince them that coaching is good for them. And I've been on this kind of rant lately that maybe if I said that they're, experts, maybe somebody would more adapt to the fact that they would want to hire a company to help them become a better business expert. It's brilliant having no business background for you, Victoria, to go through that right out of the chute.
Yeah.
And were you just like, oh my God, what did I bite off?
Yeah, I had the opportunity to be in the business from January of 2020 until we took over in April, kind of low key, and went through a little bit of training and just kind of made sure that I knew what I was biting off before we pulled the trigger. But still, I don't think you can anticipate that without just getting into it. So the coaching company was fantastic in helping us make sure that we had all of our boxes checked. And they were also great for us because it was an unbiased third party. Working with family is tough, and it was new, and I was really young. So to have another voice who wasn't emotionally attached to us at all was incredibly helpful too.
So you went to the Elite Fly with the Eagles program and you met my daughter, Tracy.
Yes.
And she came back and talked about you guys. She says, Dad, you have to interview Victoria and Katy. And so here you are. Tracy, I'm doing this for you. Of course, she's my right-hand person, executive producer of all the podcasts that we put out. What was it? Big takeaway from that course?
Oh, that's a loaded question. The day we met Tracy actually was the first day of that course, and Victoria and I had got off the plane and were super eager to attend that training session. However, literally 24 hours before we got on the plane, we went from having a great plan and the year was going really well. I had found an incredible partner in Robert, our coach at Elite, and he was eye-opening and a breath of fresh air that we needed to stay on track and keep things moving forward. And literally right before we left, our master tech gave us his notice, which kind of blindsided us out of nowhere. We had spent years grooming him and hoping that he was going to be a part of this venture for the next 20 years. And he decided he didn't want to be there anymore. So that was like, we almost didn't go to the training class because we were like, oh no, we got to stay here. We got to fix this problem. We have to make sure that everything's okay for Monday. But we were also kind of, okay, I guess we better go because maybe they can teach us something to go through this transition. And maybe somebody out there has been in this spot and can help us. And that's exactly what we found. We found a room full of business owners who had more traumatic stories than us, I guess.
Oh, boy.
And how they came out of them, how they persevered. And we left there a few days later after meeting Tracy and a bunch of incredible people, completely invigorated and ready to tackle the last 6 months, which have been difficult. But we did it. Man, did we do it. And we're better than ever. So it was a good time to go out there and be a part of that group of people and leaders for sure.
Please
Not only did we lose just our A-Tech, but a week after that, our second, I guess, put in his notice as well. So we got on that plane with knowing we were coming back to 1.5 technicians in our shop.
And booked out a couple of weeks, right?
3. At that time, we were booked
3
out
at
3
that time.
weeks, and that was
Yeah. You were kind of blindsided. You had no inclination that you would lose your master?
No, he'd been with us for a couple of years. They're young, right? Victoria's young. Her team was young. Felt like they were fully committed. We were a part of the ups and downs, and everybody seemed happy. Nobody was, you know what I mean? It wasn't your typical, the old guy in the corner and grumbling that the new owners took over and are running his place into the ground. None of that. It was, we were making plans for next year and the year after, and incredible training incentives, and they were getting paid very well. So there was no,
new pay plans.
yeah.
Did you ever really find out the real reason? And if you did, and you don't want to share it, I get that. But I think for any kind of learning curve for anybody who's out there, and let me just guess that 80% of my listeners, this has happened to them before. And they're probably just driving along or on their exercise bike listening to this podcast or watching it on YouTube saying, been there, done that. What was this all about?
The politest answer I can give you is that one of the faults of having a young team is that when they find someone else in their life who can offer them something more on a personal level, they take it. It wasn't professional. It wasn't, as far as I know from what we were told, it was just a personal choice. He found a young lady who lived in a different state and decided that she was more interesting than we were, I guess. That's the best way I can say.
That is so important to talk about here, lifestyle and the changes and, relationships that are going over state lines and,
Yep.
where people are meeting each other. And well, okay, absolutely nothing you could have done about it. So then you had to start recruiting, right? How long did it take you to find a quality replacement?
Oh, it felt like it took years. It was just a couple of months, but that in itself was an incredible learning curve for both Victoria and I too, because everybody knows about the tech shortage. I mean, everybody talks about it. It's just as common as talking about oil changes these days, I think, but very difficult that in itself we found is almost a full-time job. Having the time to devote to searching the websites, putting out advertisements, talking to people, networking, that's a full-time job in itself. And then once you get somebody that you want to start talking to, trying to weed them out and try to figure out who's just looking for money, who's just trying to go back to their boss and say, hey, I got a better offer. Can you give me more money to stay? Like navigating through that whole, and it was 24/7. And the other really interesting thing now looking back on it that we found out is people put their resumes out there on Indeed, ZipRecruiter, Monster, all of those places, but they're not really serious about looking for work. I think like they come home, have a bad day and say, yeah, that's it. I'm putting in my notice. I'm going to, look for another job. But then they go back to work the next day, put their head down and just keep working. Like nobody really truly was willing to make that change. So it took us a little bit to find some. And I'm very, very happy to say that we found not only one, but two. And because it was such a task to find one, even though we weren't looking for two, we were like, you know what? We're going to hire the second guy too. We're going to, while we have him and while we have his attention, we're taking him.
Yeah.
And that was
Victoria,
an incredible.
Did they leave other working fully enveloped jobs? Were they already doing mechanical work?
They were, yeah. All 3 new technicians that we hired came from active working in mechanical industry. And something that Katy did most of that process of the hiring. And the interesting thing that she realized, like I would say probably 3/4 of the way through, was that she had to change up the way she was doing it. And she actually had to get really aggressive with the way that she was talking to these people, for lack of a better word, because you can send the pre-made Indeed things and everybody's just like, oh, that's another one, that's another one, that's another one. So she actually started personal phone calls, personal texting, personal, hey, we see you on Indeed. Are you actually looking for a job? We've reached out multiple times. Like, is there anything about our posting that you don't like? And most of them came back and was like, well, yeah, I just really don't think that I want more money than what your listing says. And they just didn't go out of their way to ask. But it was something that Katy was just like, well, we can work around that. And then we got their attention. But it was the ad and what was out there was, I don't think it was inaccurate in any way. I think it was a great ad, and I think we had a really good realm of pay, but it just, they didn't want to ask the question and go out of their way to find the answers. So she did that for them, and that's how we got them on the hook.
There's a huge learning curve right there. There's a golden nugget for our listener. Don't just take this stuff for face value, right, Katy?
Absolutely. I mean, and I think we had pretty good ads. We had help from our business coaches with our ads and making sure that we wrote an attractive posting. It just still wasn't enough. You had to take the time to push it 10 steps further. And a lot of them, this newer generation of people out there, they don't like phone calls. They wanted, what I found was the 2 or 3 that I really had on the hook that had great conversations with, they were texting me while they were working, which wasn't necessarily a good thing, I understand. And then those text conversations rolled over into the evenings. And then even on the weekends, they would be like, hey, I just had another question. And it just opened a door and a comfort level with them that I was accessible to them 24/7 and vice versa. And we had some really incredible, pretty deep conversations, I would think, about what they were looking for in their job, what they didn't like about their current job. And they seemed to feel more comfortable telling me things via text than they did sitting in front of me across from a table. You know what I mean? They felt more comfortable. And once we connected that passion, it was pretty cool. I think I talked to them for 2 or 3 weeks via text before they came in for their first interview.
The NAPA Now event is a national ownership workshop for our valued AutoCare members centered around business building training from industry leaders. Now, it's not just about owning a shop, it's about owning your future. Join NAPA April 15th through the 17th, 2025 at the Venetian Resort in the heart of Las Vegas, known for its vibrancy, energy, and entrepreneurial spirit. At the event, ignite growth through business building masterclasses from leaders across multiple industries focused on expanding business opportunities. Now, masterclass topics include future-proofing your business, mastering emerging technologies for growth, leadership dynamics, inspiring, engaging, and driving success, shifting tides, understanding evolving consumer behaviors and your bottom line, and young leaders' lasting legacies, mastering succession planning for future growth. Foster collaboration with other like-minded NAPA AutoCare members and store owners. Stop at supplier studios for training, visit AutoCare vendor partners, and finally, join us in celebrating 100 years of NAPA Auto Parts, along with kicking off the next 100 years of partnership. There will also be exclusive giveaways. There are many incentive opportunities to offset the cost of this trip, including AutoCare program earnbacks, and beginning in October, earn up to $1,500 with pre-show supplier training to prepare for the supplier studio training sessions. The NAPA Now event is a national ownership workshop for our valued AutoCare members centered around business building training from industry leaders. Now, it's not just about owning a shop, it's about owning your future. Join NAPA April 15th through the 17th, 2025 at the Venetian Resort in the heart of Las Vegas, known for its vibrancy, energy, and entrepreneurial spirit. Get ready to grow, connect, and celebrate. This is an exclusive event limited to the first 2,000 AutoCare members. Packages are going fast. If you're interested in attending, contact your servicing NAPA store or NAPA salesperson. I am writing these 2 words here in front of me because I need to sit down with my great friends who are recruiters from Automotive and Technician Find who have, who help partner and sponsor our shows, texting interviews. It's pretty powerful. It's a great golden nugget. We sometimes just don't like to talk on the phone. We just don't even like to do emails, but texting seems to be one of those most comfortable and natural ways to communicate today. And you discovered it. And they opened up to you. So you actually obviously you had to do a face-to-face interview, but that individual who was texting back and forth and when you met them for the first time, did the text experience equal the personal experience?
They were much more confident and much more relaxed in their texting conversations. They were, once we met face to face, I mean, everybody was a little bit on edge, but then once you could take all of that texting conversation and bring it back up in face to face conversation and reconnect the dots, by the end of their interviews, we were like, yeah, we want you. I mean, I don't want to say it was like blind online dating. I've never online dated in my life, but I have to think it's kind of something similar to that. I don't know. And they walked in the door knowing who I was and who their potential employer was. It was pretty cool.
Well, to me, it would seem like the icebreaker is, hey, I just kind of reviewed all of our texts that we did together, and I love that one spot. And that, to me, could just bring the ice crashing down when an individual can relate back to what they were texting you about because they were the most comfortable then.
Yep. Yep.
The other thing we changed up in that whole procedure too, sorry to interrupt, is we kind of went away from traditional office interviews to there's a truck on the lift halfway apart in the middle of the shop. Look at it. Tell me what's wrong with it. Tell me what the technician's doing. Tell me what your next steps would be. Tell me how you would handle this. It took a lot of pressure off of me, off of them. Just again, like she just said, sitting in front of each other as young people isn't the normal thing anymore. So that gave us, we learned that helped us huge as an interviewers because their confidence around the shop. If there was a rag on the ground, did they bend up to pick it up and put it in the trash instead of step over it? Did they feel comfortable with the way that the lifts were? And that kind of changed our perceptive of the people coming in the shop too, and it helped a lot.
Yeah, we decided no more interviews across the table ever, whether they're service advisors, business partners, anything, nothing. All the technicians, everybody gets interviewed in the shop setting because their mannerisms and their body language is very telling. You can sit across the table and tell me you can fix anything, and I'm supposed to believe you. But when, like Victoria said, when you look at the truck all apart on the lift and you go, what's that? Maybe we just move on. We don't have to hire you.
Yeah, no more steps forward. Just, it's been great. Mom, you have a phone call. Yeah, I'm only kidding.
Oh,
Victoria sees that you and this interview aren't going in the right way, and she goes, "Hey, Mom, you have a phone call." Well, it's
we
so
got pretty
cool.
good at sign language, face talking back and forth.
That's kind of what I meant. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, well, let's help each other get in or out of a tight situation, right?
Every day.
So, did you come up with any new ways, incentive programs to pay your people at all?
We did. Again, with the help of Robert, our coach, we came up with a great compensation plan, which was an incredible interview tool as well, because you can hire them at a base rate, but then you show them the potential on this tiered production bonus. What did we have? 4 or 5 different tiers that, depending on the billable hours that they reach, they get an incredible incentive. And it was all on paper, on black and white, in a nice little folder during the interview. It wasn't just hearsay. It wasn't just us talking. Well, we presented them with an incredible packet. And that included other incentives that they got, their tool allowances, their boot allowances, their health insurance. Like, we put dollar figures on everything so that they could say, oh, look, just using base numbers here for something easy, they're offering me a $50,000 a year job. But after you add in all of these other cool things and the potential bonuses that I could really make $85,000 a year. It got their attention. It was an incredible talking point and showed them that we're not just hiring you to be here to be a technician. We're hiring you to be a part of our family and a part of our growth. And this is a long-term thing. This isn't just to come in and do your job and go home. We want you here. We want your wives to feel comfortable here, your spouses to ask questions. And a couple of them, we actually, even though they wanted to accept the job on the spot, we said, nope, take this packet home, go over it with your wife, your girlfriend, your spouse. We'll talk to you on Monday. Go home, think about it, because for them, I think it was a quick decision, because how could you not want to do it? But we wanted to make sure that their family was a part of that decision. And because we wanted them to understand that that's why we're family. That's how this works.
So I guess if that person came or called you on Monday, you knew you had a solid hire. And if, you let them go over the weekend and they ghosted you, then you knew that, oh dear, it happens.
Right.
How many times have you been ghosted?
Through that whole process, just once, believe it or not.
All right.
Just once. The other ones, like Victoria said, we hired 3 technicians out of that whole debacle and a service writer. We added a service advisor at the same time. So we had 4 new hires in the building for the last 3 months. It's been chaos. A good chaos.
Of each other.
I don't know. I'm just, in my mind, I'm just counting up all the people that you have. You got to be at least doing $1 million, right? Something like that.
Little over.
Big plans for next year now that you're on solid ground.
We're in the process of working on 2025 goals, and our coach keeps telling us we're slacking in that department. So,
all right,
yeah.
I can't even imagine what you're expecting your revenue to be. But you guys are probably on a great path. Mom, what is your real role in the business? Victoria? What do you have her doing?
She does all of the most important things. She does all of the paperwork, all of the number stuff, all of the things that I wouldn't be able to do by myself, and I wouldn't be able to do what I do without her.
And wait a minute, you don't want to do it either.
Also correct.
I don't know how either one of us could do it without the other. No. Honestly, I mean, we are both in that shop 12 to 13 hours a day, 4 days a week. We do have a 4-day work week, which is kind of cool, but Fridays are full of paperwork and all that other nonsense. I couldn't do what she does, and not that she couldn't do what I do, because I'm sure that she could, but she's out there running the shop and those technicians and doing estimates and running parts and giving an extra hand wrenching when they need it. I couldn't do that. I was trying to learn how to balance tires yesterday for the first time, and it didn't go so well.
Why? It was just because you're curious?
No, because we were humping to get work done for the day, and it was all hands on deck. She started mounting. I'm like, I'll learn how to balance, throw them my way.
Oh my.
I didn't get any done successfully, for the record, but I tried.
At 3:00, we still had about 18 hours worth of work that had to get done before the end of the day. So Victoria had to put on her gloves and start doing some tires.
Amazing.
But we got it all done.
These are great stories of survival, family, do what you got to do, get it done, pitch in. What a great culture you must have.
That has been one of the most important things for us, for me as her mom. And her dad is also very much involved in the garage. He's got a normal job, but he helps out as much as he possibly can too. My son actually owns his own shop right across the street from us. So we have that going on the other side of it too. So it is always very nice to know at any particular time, any of us can pick up the phone and get to the other one or yell across the room and say, I need help. And it's a pretty solid backbone, which is pretty nice. And I also think that's incredibly important for our team to see that as well, right? It's not just, it's everybody's all in all the time. It's pretty cool. And the technicians are the new group that we have. They are all in. Yesterday during that chaos, to watch them be like, uh-oh, these two are out here. We got to get our boots walking faster. And they did. Every single one of them also stepped up the pace, left there last night smiling, going, oh my God, we got it done. Have a great weekend. See you on Monday, which is...
The 4-day work week, I find it appealing, fascinating. I wish I could get to a 4-day work week, even though I don't fix cars, but we're a media company. We do what we have to do when we have to do it, type of thing. You're open to the public. You still have work inside over the weekend. You try to meet all your promise times. And you said that 5th day we do paperwork and everything. So because of that, and because of how hard you're working to build a great business, that Friday that gives you some pressure relief, you probably both enjoy a 2-day weekend.
Sometimes.
Oh my. There's a loaded question.
Katy actually works her full Friday at my brother's shop, so she doesn't really get too lucky and get a full 3-day weekend, but she gets to spend some time with him.
Nice.
But yeah, the 4-day work week is something that we adopted, and when we took over, we didn't implement it. It was like that. And we thought they were crazy. We were like, oh yeah, in a few months we'll be up on Fridays and maybe we'll even do an express line on Saturdays. And the hopes were high, but then we quickly realized that, no, we like this. This is pretty cool. So we left it that way. And our customers are, for lack of a better word, trained. They know that we're closed on Fridays. There's been maybe one instance in the 5 years we've been there that I've had to come in on Friday to help a customer out and do a set of tires for his daughter going back to college. But most of the time that's not true. And people totally understand and they don't have much to say about it. So we really like it. We work hard. We work long days, but it makes up for it in the end.
Does your brother's shop compete with you guys? Does he do something different?
They actually complement each other very well. He does detailing, ceramic coating, tinting, and now does undercoating as well, rust proofing. We send a lot of customers his way who the running joke is she makes them run and he makes them look good. So they go together side by side.
Nice.
And then he has a tremendous amount of customers who he also sends our way, who come to him to keep their vehicles looking good. He does some aftermarket accessories, tunnel covers, running boards, stuff like that. He'll meet those customers first. And then they'll be like, oh, I also need an oil change, or I need this, or I need that. And he'll send them. We're literally across the street from each other. There's one sign that says Carl's Advanced Automotive with an arrow pointing to the left. And then there's another sign that says Carl's Custom Car Care with his arrow pointing to the right across the street from each other. So I think they compete against each other sometimes to see who works harder. But other than that's about it.
What are you guys doing for community involvement?
We try our best to do as much as we can, but that's hard too because there's sometimes not enough time in the day to do it all. We just a couple of weeks ago Victoria had a group of library through our public library. What was it called? A teen talk or teen tech time?
Teen tech time.
Yep. So the library actually organized a group of 14 to 17-year-olds and then brought them to our shop. And Victoria spent a couple hours talking to them about learning how to drive, preventative maintenance, all of that kind of stuff, which is really cool. her brother are both very active in our local BOCES program, Capital Region BOCES. They are there when they have the time to go in and talk to the kids and give a little pep talk to them. They maintain great relationships with those teachers over there. I'm doing all the talking, Victoria. You can
No,
talk.
that's okay. But Victoria, I'm going to put you up on the spot now, and but I do want to explain that just before we got into the virtual studio here to do a recording, Tracy and I were at a BOCES center, and if you've listened to the podcast a lot, you know in New York State we have these schools, these centers. It's called the Board of Cooperative Educational Services, and the high schools send their students who are looking for any kind of skilled trade. Name the skilled trade, and these BOCES centers have it. Well, a local shop decided to cook pancakes, sausage, and bacon for a student class of 14. We were there, we were watching, and we had a blast to talk to all the students. So being involved, and I've done this, I've written articles on this. One of the most recent articles I wrote in the NAPA Insights Q3 magazine was there's a crack in the foundation and we need to fill it. And that means us, like you're doing exactly, Victoria, talking to
the kids are our future. We had such a hard time finding people to work for us. How are we going to find people in the future if we're not helping our kids be the people that we want to hire? There's not a lot of young people in this generation going into the skilled trades for whatever reason. That could be a whole nother podcast in itself. But the ones who are there need to be treated like they're our future, because they are. I have nothing but great things to say about the BOCES program. I came from the BOCES program. A lot of where I got and all of the opportunities that I had in front of me came from BOCES. They helped me a lot. They helped me fill out all of my scholarship paperwork. I got many scholarships because there was a woman in the office who helped me write them and helped me write them well. They went over my resumes and my applications before I turned them in. And then I even had actually, funny enough, the place that I ended up working at after I came back from college, I had that connection from junior year in high school. That local business came to our shop and did our finals, and they were like ASE certified, so they were able to do the testing, and their HR rep would come with them. And from the day she met me, it was my junior year in high school. She stayed in contact. She emailed me almost quarterly through college. Hey, how are you doing? Is there anything I can help you with? And not ever pushy, just trying to make that connection. And when I came out of college, I could honestly pick where I wanted to be, which was fantastic. And I ended up going with her, and I stayed with her, and that's who I worked for. And through that, she was in a different building, a different location, but through that entire process, she was the only other woman in this company, really, and was very essential to where I am now. If I had a bad day, I'd go eat lunch with Jackie. She talked me through everything, and she was incredibly helpful through the whole process. And that started at BOCES.
That's a great thing. I just want to give you as many high fives as I can as a woman in our industry to get out, and probably more at the high school level. They're already at BOCES, and you're up as a female speaking to a bunch of men. Maybe there's an occasional woman that gets in there, but it's almost like we almost need to go to that high school level and say, hey, if I can do it, you can do it, ladies. And it doesn't mean that you've got to be, and I'm not cosmetology and culinary. I'm not saying that those jobs are perfect for females. They're not necessarily, but we are so, I think, focused on trying to get a lot more young people in our industry. And listen, you're successful, you're sharp, you're smart. Look at where you are. You went from BOCES, which is a really respected, essential skilled trade school here in New York State, to a shop owner. And that's one of the things that I love. Some of the directors of training that we have in our industry from big companies came from the Bays.
Yep.
And they just worked their way up. They made noise. They were perpetual students. I think the world's their oyster.
One of the things that BOCES does every year, which I really love, it's a newer thing in the last 3 years, I think she's done it. They do Women in the Trades luncheon in March, and they take all of the girls who are potentially interested in going to BOCES, and a lot of them are freshmen in high school, sophomores in high school, and they put them all in the same room, and they have a panel full of industrial women like me. They have construction women, they have welders and electricians, and we just have an open Q&A session with all of these young women who are thinking that this is what they want to do. And every year it's grown, and It makes me almost emotional to see the room packed full of women and teachers. Some of the BOCES teachers, the men, the high school teachers will come and sit and listen because they want to help and be a part of this movement. And it's fantastic. It's one of my favorite things to do.
I will encourage you till I'm no longer on this earth to keep doing that. Any female that's listening, any husband and your significant other, wife, we've got to get more involved. And I don't feel that in the next 10 years we could look back and says we didn't do this, we should have fixed that. We're talking too much about the right rules today, and these are right rules. Just because you're female doesn't mean that a male owner shouldn't be sitting in front of classrooms, counselors, and I talk about this way too much. I'm sure my audience is bored. Carm, stop talking about this. We got it. Yeah, but I get new listeners each and every week, and we want them to know. Now, one other thing about that I want to jump into the movement to coaching and the power of it. And again, I just want to one more time talk about any major things that both of you have learned in the last so many years as you're with Elite that really took your business to a new level?
Oh, that's not an easy question.
Marketing costs, margin. I mean, there's a lot of things that make that bottom line what it is today. A lot of hard work, things you have to pay attention to. Anything that was significant in your minds?
I think the most significant thing that jumps out for me is I thought we were doing okay. You know what I mean? Like we spent the first couple of years from transition date, we made a lot of changes on our own. The shop that we purchased was very up to date. They had great software. They were running great programs, but Victoria and I are a little organized, a little anal about certain things. So like when we look at a calendar, we like to color code things. It's a great example. Everything has a reason. Everything has a place. There's a tremendous amount of structure. So we changed our point of sale system after 2 years, but all due respect to the previous owner, because we had a lot of respect for the way that they had run their business. One of the owners stayed on for 2 years as an employee, which was great to help with that transition. We changed a lot of things while he was still there, but we had lots of things we wanted to do. And we knew that at his age and at his baby, we weren't going to change everything while he was still there. So out of respect for him, we kept a lot of things the same. So after that 2-year mark had hit, it was really time to step it up. We changed our point of sale system. We went to QuickBooks Online. We changed our payroll companies. We went paperless, no more ROs. We changed the credit card processing machine, all on January 1 of the same year of 23. So it was chaos getting to that point, and then afterwards for a few months on that learning curve. And so all of that stuff kind of consumed us for a while. There really wasn't time to, as long as we had money in the bank and we could pay the bills, we were doing okay. That was kind of where we were at. And we were kind of happy with that, because why else are you in business than to just pay your bills and do that?
You discovered that being okay was not being okay.
Right. You think it is. You think you're
Yeah.
doing well, and there's, you made payroll. Yay, we did good for the week. But there's, with the help of Elite and with the help of a little bit more structure, all of that stuff that we did was amazing, and it was great, and it pushed us forward. But now we have this whole nother realm that we have to go into with
What's the whole other realm?
The whole other realm was paying attention to your numbers and what they do for you. Not just, okay, yep, you paid your bills this week, everything is good. It was, well, now you need to make sure your parts margins are in line. Where's your labor margin at? What are your build hours at? What's your average RO at? How many appointments did you make this week? How many customers came in? How much did you try to estimate and sell? So it's like, okay, wait, I thought we were doing good. But you just, there's a lot more. You have to pay attention to what's going on. And since we've been paying attention and all of those changes were implemented and we were ready to go, I can't wait to see how we finish this year. And 2025 is really, if we can maintain our culture, maintain our staff, and finally at year 5 do what we started out to do, I cannot wait to see what she can do in 2025, because it's going to be crazy.
Wow, Victoria.
Maybe I'll get a day off. I want a day off.
Well, you do have one, but you choose not to take it. So everything is great. It's okay. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. Everything is good. Okay. Then it's going to go to great. And then one day it's going to be fantastic. And that is that you're really then developing personal wealth from all your great hard work.
Yes.
And I think people forget about that.
It's very easy to forget about it, honestly. When you're in it and you're just doing it every day, you forget about 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now. And it's one of the things that our coach reminds us of all the time is, where are you going with this? What's next? Where are you going to be? What's the end result? I don't have an end result. I'm old. Victoria's young. She's got her whole life ahead of her to worry about more of that kind of stuff. But the end result, finally, the end of being able to look back and being incredibly proud of what they've built and why it was so hard to get there and why it was worth all of that struggle. That a lot of dig deep in the last 6 months. Dig deep in and reminding ourselves of why we're here, what we're doing it for, and what her goals are. It's kind of cool. It's
That's so cool.
refreshing.
Victoria, do me a favor. Tell your mom to stop saying the word "I'm old."
I tried to.
Yeah, you need to do that because I'm old, but I don't feel old. I know,
Well, good for you. That's amazing.
yeah, all right, okay, but yeah, I just be careful of that, okay? Because she needs you around as long as you can possibly be. As long, I love this working relationship. It's really excellent, and I'm so happy to hear this great story. I'm sure there's a bunch of parallel stories out there that maybe just like you, and I'd love to interview you. Please come on the show, Carm at remarkableresults.biz. Love to have you. Any great final words to share with our audience? Katy, I'll go to you, and then Victoria, you can have the last word. Anything else you'd love to share? Some great tips, ideas?
The only thing I can really say is to anybody listening is that when you find something that you're passionate about, you got to go for it. When Victoria first came to me with this, I want to be a diesel mechanic. I want to go to BOCES. And I, as her mom, and I'm ashamed to admit it, however many years ago it is now, that I was like, absolutely not. That is not what young ladies do. You go find something else to do. And man, she's made me eat those words. And every opportunity she has to tell me I was wrong, she takes it. I couldn't be more proud of her and her willingness to continue to go down this path. And rest assured, the conversation of, I mean, yes, as her mom, it was, you're a young lady, you're going to be in a classroom with 25, 30 other boys. You have to be careful. You have to keep your head above water. We had plenty of those conversations, trust me. But her professionally, she's been surrounded by an incredible support staff, her teachers, her students, some of the kids that she went to BOCES with, she's still great friends with today because of the connections that she made. And if she chose not to pursue and not to push herself, I don't know where she'd be today, honestly. I don't know what she'd be doing and where she would be. And as her mom, I'm incredibly proud of her. And it's just a couple of months ago, actually, we had a mom call the shop who had a young daughter who was kind of in the same position Victoria and I were 10 years ago. And she said, "Hey, I heard through a friend of a friend at lunch today that your daughter is kind of like my daughter. Can I talk to you? Do you have a minute to talk to me?" And it was kind of a like full circle moment for me because I was like, oh my God, there's other people out there that are in this same situation. We actually talked to her on the phone a couple times, invited her mom and her daughter to the shop. Her daughter spent a couple weeks with us this summer, just hanging out, just shadowing. Incredibly bright young lady. Those kind of things are very encouraging to both Victoria and I because it's like, that's kind of why we're here. It's kind of cool to have to build that network and to build that resource and to see that whether it was an automotive shop or you were in a cosmetology shop, it doesn't matter. You're doing what you need to do and you're really good at it and learning very much along the way. It's very cool. I can't imagine being anyplace else other than right here with helping both her and her brother through this whole, I don't know. We call it controlled chaos is what we refer to it as.
Do we call it that?
Well, we're being polite because we're.
Mom, that was an incredibly heartfelt final word, and I think there's a lot of people out there that can relate to that. And if not, I think you've taught some people something to think
You got to
about.
push them and you got to support them. That's why we're here.
So cool. Last word, Victoria.
I think the biggest thing that we have learned over the last 6 months is that change is scary. I mean, change is scary, but going into all of this is like, it was terrifying. And when all of this happened, I was like, what are we going to do? Like, there was just no next steps. And it was different. It was change. It was new, but we did it. And same as finding these people to come into our shop and our family, it's changed. That was number one hesitation, I think, with a lot of the mechanics that we hired or interviewed, was nobody wanted to take the step and make that active effort to make themselves happier because it's scary. So we're learning to try to live outside of our comfort zone and realize that sometimes there's better things out there. It's just really, really hard to get out of that and make that step. But once you do, grasp it and ride it, because that's where we are now. And it's so rewarding to see and think back to 6 months ago before that Eagles trip. It was like, wow, I don't know where I'm going to be in 6 months. And here we are, we're rocking it.
Wow. Victoria, Katy, Carl from Carl's Advanced Automotive and Truck Repair in Voorheesville, New York, out there on the eastern side of our great state. Thank you guys so much for being here. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you very much. We appreciate the opportunity. And please tell Tracy we said hello.
We will.
We'd love to see you guys again in person someday soon.
We will. Thank you so much.